this and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. Rises and the players come out, webs of lies spinning from their mouths. Start looking, listen for a little while. And you don't see the face behind their smile. Pay no attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit.
I'm not picking up on my NDI here. Now you're not showing up on the screen with the folks. Hang on just a minute, folks. Getting this figured out. Might have to restart the Skype, Tim. Let's try that. Yeah, let's do that. I still don't have Tim Nave on here. Let's try it again.
Worldwide genocide. The overlords of hungry parasites. They point the finger and the eagles fly. Raining fire, children die. Starving plague, paralyzed. Pile of bodies rotten, covered in fire. But no one wants to talk about it. It's safer not to talk about it. I cut my strings, no more bowing to the master. I tried to run, but they only came faster. Now I stand my ground.
All right, folks. For some reason, I can't get Tim on with us tonight. The Skype is acting up. I had to update both the Skype and the OBS program tonight, so that may be why we've had that issue there. Sometimes when you update these things, they can get a little bit screwy. So sorry about that, Tim. He's right here on my computer screen. I can see him. I've got an NDI input running from Skype into the OBS program, so it should be working, but for some reason it's not. But I'm going to do a real quick show tonight. I'm actually waiting on my daughter to get back. She's been out of town and with a friend on spring break, so kind of looking forward to her getting back. So I'm going to do a quick one tonight and get off here, but I had some stories that I wanted to get into before that. So one of the things is we talk about a lot on this show how we have very little impact on national and global events, but where we do have some impact is on local events, and we do have some local elections coming up. If you want to participate in those, the registration deadline is April the 4th, I believe. Yeah, April the 4th, this coming Monday. So if you want to get registered to vote in that primary election on the 3rd of May, then that's coming up April 4th. You better get it done before that. The primary election, a lot of people don't really pay attention to it. You only pay attention to the general, but that's where you select who is running in the general. So if you don't want to end up in a situation where you're like, oh, this is only crappy people we have to choose from, your primary election is a way to, have some say over who the two people in the general are. So, you could check that out. There's not always a good choice, I know, either way, but still, at least this way you have some more input in it and down before your general election comes around. So we got the county mayor races coming up. We've got Mike A.C. Enzer. He's a candidate for county mayor. He's going to be on the show with us next Wednesday, a week from today. So that'll be cool. We'll call in and do a Zoom call with him and ask him some questions. You guys can comment and chat some questions to us. We may or may not ask him, but you send us some good ones, we'll ask him. I'm trying to ask him something that other people haven't asked him. We're still working on getting the other candidates and the sheriff's candidates in for before the primary election. Now in Johnson City, we got Buffalo Mountain still on fire, which I didn't know about except for the news telling me. I haven't been around to the other side of it where it's actually on fire, but yeah, apparently they had quite a bit on fire back there. They said it had 75 acres or 75% under control. That it burned 108 acres. That's no small amount. They say it's going to take a good rain before that's what the firefighters say. It'll take a good rain before it'll really be better than 75% contained. That's where they're looking at holding it for now. So they're expecting a lot of wind to come up tonight too. So let's if you pray or whatever it is you do to send good vibes to those guys over there working on that it doesn't get out of control. They've just had to evacuate some areas down in Sevierville. They had a shelter they opened up in Pigeon Forge because of a big fire they have down there. So yeah, those things can get out of control really quick, especially when the wind gets up like it has. Now this one, I really wanted to have Tim's take on this. So Tim, I don't know. I wonder if people can hear you. Let's see. I'm on, because you're in my ears, but no, I don't think they can. It says that you should be showing up on the screen, so I'm not sure, and that they can hear you even though I can. But this story here from lawsuit claims. Look, I'll show it. Maybe if these hotkeys work, everybody can see Tim here. See, he's right here. Lawsuit claims assault with a deadly weapon by a former BRMC CEO over 2020 patient incident. So apparently this Bristol Regional Medical Center former CEO, who was not a doctor, scrubbed up and took the first incision on a patient back in 2020. Greg Neal was his name, and he resigned after, it says, I love how they say this, he resigned after violating patient protection policies. So I think one of your key patient protections would be that if someone were cutting on you in a surgical procedure, that person would in fact be a surgeon. So yeah, I think that violating patient protection policies, yeah, that would fall under that umbrella. Now, Dr. Nathan Smith was fired after letting him take this cut, but this kind of seems like one of those things. Like it seems like they maybe I don't know anything about either of these men, but it seems like kind of one of these things where they wouldn't have done it if they thought they were going to get caught, or you know what I'm saying? If they thought they were going to get caught, it probably would have been okay if somebody didn't tell on them. Kind of one of those things where everybody in the back room is in on it, or everybody in the hospital, probably, might not say anything about something like that, especially with the CEO doing it. So I don't know, but that kind of brings to mind this story that I saw in the news. Representative Madison Cawthorn from over in North Carolina, he's a federal U.S. representative. He made a claim over the weekend, or I think it was end of last week, on the Warrior Poet podcast, where he said that he was basically invited to an orgy with somebody on Capitol Hill, and that a lawmaker, it sounded like he was talking about a lawmaker, had done a key bump of cocaine right in front of him, and supposedly it was somebody who was anti-drug or leading some sort of anti-drug campaign. But today we had news that Kevin McCarthy, the House Republican, the minority leader, that he pulled Cawthorn aside and basically reprimanded him for saying this. And he came out to the press and said, oh, well, I didn't see any evidence of this. And he said maybe it was just maybe a staffer doing it from 100 yards away in a parking garage, and he saw it. Like, I don't think that's probably what he said. He probably wouldn't have said it if it wasn't actually something he saw when it comes to that. Maybe he just wanted to sound cool or something. I mean, I don't know. But I think we'd be pretty naive to think that that doesn't go on. They asked him if it was like House of Cards, and he said, you know, it kind of is in a lot of ways. And then he went on to explain about how he had been invited to these parties and offered drugs or whatever. And then I think it doesn't really make Kevin McCarthy or the Republican Party look very good to, you know, reprimand him on this. I don't think. You'd think he would want to say, well, who was this and where was it? But of course, Cawthorn doesn't name any names because it'd be hard he wouldn't be able to prove it. And that's pretty much what Kevin McCarthy says is, oh, I've seen no evidence of this. Well, what's he supposed to do? Take a Polaroid and shake it around in front of you, Kevin? Get real. Uh, Now it makes the party look bad, and ultimately that's what matters to Mr. McCarthy. So, um, now speaking of kind of the thing about the insiders, we have this story here. An Applebee's franchise executive. Now this is a mid-level guy. You know, this is based in the Missouri Apple Central Group, which, you know, these, if you know anything about the restaurant industry, a lot of these national chains are owned by franchisees who may own, you know, several of these particular restaurants. They may own several other ones as well. And this is a franchise group. So this wasn't actually corporate Applebee's, but he suggested there was an email leaked that, without reading the whole article to you, I will go back after the episode and put these in the description if you want to read any of these. But without reading the whole article, basically, the executive here sent out an email to the other franchise operators and said, hey, you know, with the prices of everything going up, you're going to have more people coming back into the workforce, people coming for second jobs. So there's going to be more labor in there. So the demand for labor is going to go down. So therefore, we can take advantage of this and lower our wages, and then we'll be gravy. You know, we'll be able to cut more costs that way and save some money, and we can get people to work more hours for less pay, and it works out better for everybody. And he actually got fired after this was leaked. But you know, the fact that he suggested it, saying you know, kind of makes you think that, well, the other people, he felt comfortable suggesting that to them, so that may be the way that they're thinking about their employees. Now, Applebee's has said when they reached out for comment that, let's read their exact comment here. Our team members are the lifeblood of our restaurants, and our franchisees are always looking to reward and incentivize team members, new and current, to remain within the Applebee's family. Well, that's what I'd expect to hear from somebody who, you know, as far as I know, at least it was, their base pay was like $2.13 an hour for servers, and they're expected to make it up in tips, you know, which they share around to the rest of the restaurant. And, you know, that's how a lot of the restaurant gets funded, is by tip sharing. You know, the other people who do the other jobs in the restaurant, a lot of times they're not funded out of the actual restaurant profits. They're funded off the tips of the servers and bartenders. So, Tim's telling me how that started. I don't know how it started, no, but I would like. It's exclusive to America. Well, I don't know a good way to convey it on the show, so you'll have to tell me about it, and then I can. Then I, Yeah, Michael Crow says can't hear Tim. Yeah, we don't have Tim tonight, Michael. I can't get him on the screen. I've tried and tried. Some reason when I updated the OBS streaming program and the Skype program, it was not happy. So I'll have to figure that out before the next time we do this. But again, it's just going to be a quick episode, and I did want to get Tim's take on that one, so I may have to bring that one up on Sunday on the doctor there cutting on the feller without the CEO being cutting on the feller without being a doctor, and the doctor letting him and all that. Yeah, so we got a couple more stories to go through here. One I wanted to show you. I don't know if you watched the show, you remember when we were talking about the sanctions going in place in Russia, with them being pulled from the SWIFT payment system. We talked about a lot of different things that were going supposedly against the Russian economy. And Tim and I told you, well, at least I told you, and I'm pretty sure Tim was in agreement with me. We discussed it anyway, but that more than likely, in our opinion, we were going to see Russia was just going to start doing business with other places, and they were going to make up the money in other ways. And initially, we did see the ruble drop down tremendously when the sanctions were put in place. But then Russia started really just kind of making moves. They set up their own version of the SWIFT payment system with India and China. They started trading more with other nations, just like we said they would, just like we reckoned that they would. And that's pretty much what happened. Now the ruble has rebounded back up to right where it was before the invasion started. It dipped to 100. It dipped down to it would cost $85 initially to buy, or 85 rubles to buy a dollar. Well, then it dipped down to where it would cost you 150 rubles to buy $1 US. But now it's right back up where it was. Takes you 85 rubles to buy a dollar. And, you can only imagine that, that's kind of going to go up, because they, as we talked about, there were several people, including Joe Biden, talking about how the new world order, or the old liberal world order of the 20th century, was coming to an end. And one of the things that we expected to see was a sort of great resets, and this is, in my opinion, this is part of that great reset. Now, whether it's in conjunction with the rest of the world, or whether Russia and India and China have decided to kind of break off and form their own world order, that's separate from the Western European and Anglo-Saxon world order, I don't know. But you see it in the movies a lot of times, and there's a reason for that. It's because art imitates life. And when you have a lot of these powerful people, they all want to be in charge. They all want to be the boss. So even though they may work in conjunction for the framework, building the framework, these people are going to start betraying each other. So that's something I think that works in our benefit when we get right down to it. But it kind of looks like right now, like that Russia and China and India are kind of doing their own thing, but it could just be, what's expected of them by the central bank system that runs Western world, and is heavily influential, and mostly runs those places too. This is an interesting one, I think, considering what we talked about with Drew a couple weeks ago. This is the hackers. This is from Bloomberg.com. Hackers steal about $600 million in one of the biggest crypto hikes. Ronin Network says thieves took Ether, US dollar coin tokens, or USDC tokens, on March 23rd. Bridge hacks. Now, what they did is they hacked one of these places where these coins are transferred. It's not actually the actual system on which these coins work themselves. It's where they bridge it through some sort of an exchange. It lets people convert tokens into ones that can be used on another network. So it's kind of like the same thing we talked about, where they convert them into cash. That's ultimately where their weakness is right now, because if you can't spend them without converting into cash, then your cash can still be blocked. So that's you can be blocked from doing that. Well, these bridges are a weakness. They stole $600 million from mostly Ethereum. This one, $611. They said $540 from the Ronin. These are all the different crypto hacks that have stolen. Look at all this money. I mean, there's $1 billion. There's $2 billion. There's $3 billion. So over $3 billion right there that they've taken on these crypto hacks. So $2.3 billion was stolen from these platforms in 2021. So that's a jump of 1,330% from the year before. So not only is there plenty of money out there being made in the crypto market, there's plenty of money to be stolen from the crypto market. So I thought that was an interesting story. Now, with regard to the crypto market and Russia, there's one other. We talked about whether or not that Russia would be or Ukraine would be a place where people would want to exchange crypto, if that would be something that would benefit them. Would it do you any good to have Bitcoin in a war zone? We still don't really know. I mean, people donated money to in cryptocurrency to the Ukrainians, as Drew, our guest, told us, but they still converted that into cash to actually use it, converted into US dollars. So here's from seekingalpha.com. This is Russia's 3-step plan to put the ruble on a gold standard. Step 1, offer a premium fixed price for gold to domestic Russian banks who can't sell their gold internationally due to sanctions. So basically, the sanctions can't be stop the Russians from being able to sell their gold out of the country. So this says, okay, well, this gives the Russian government or the Bank of Russia an opportunity to say, hey, we'll give you this gold, we'll buy this gold at this price, and that actually they're more likely to sell that because they can't sell it anywhere else. That step 2, to strengthen the ruble by internationally by insisting on energy payments in rubles. We've already saw that India is going to be paying in rubles now when they buy oil from Russia. So if they start trading the rest of their energy, especially with Europe in rubles, that's going to even make the ruble even stronger, consistent with how we saw the petrodollar, as many people are saying, has come to an end. How that worked, because that was what you bought oil in, so that kept faith and kept the dollar strong, regardless of kind of whatever else happened. The 5,000 ruble window closes on June 30th. Or step 3, turn the ruble into a credible gold substitute at a fixed rate. So they're talking about looking at the ruble. 5,000 rubles buys, I forget how much of gold, but basically pegging it at about $50 a gram to gold in US dollars as they are right now. So if you want to look up into more of that, this article tells in depth how they might do that, and some people are saying that's what they are doing. And to me, that only makes sense for them to do that. So I think we would have to plan on that, if when we're planning policy, that's something that would make sense for them to do. Whether or not they do it remains to be seen, but they're talking about it, and it would make sense. And we just saw it looks like they're wrapping up their military operation in Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, he's talking about conceding or making concessions in order to get the thing over with. The Russians are pulling back from Kiev. So hopefully they achieved their objective. Hopefully they really were just doing what Putin said and hoping to, well, as they said, liberate. But either way, they're hoping to control the Donbass region. There's they don't need the war to go on. Tim said they don't need the war to go on. They just got a big military budget passed. So we needed the threat of it to get that budget passed, which it just did. So who knows? And you also saw a bunch of money going into Ukraine right now. Just now, what, $500 million just went in to Ukraine from the Biden administration to support the war effort. And then, well, now it looks like the war is winding up. Well, we can only hope. But we have some new news today from the Washington Post. I'm going to share you this link. This is an archived version of it, so you can read it without the paywall here, from klmat.eu.org. And it's inside Hunter Biden's multi-million-dollar deals with the Chinese energy company. And it goes on to explain how a lot of these things on the laptop really do tie in with documents they were able to uncover and verify. And it does look like that at least a lot of the financial stuff on the laptop is in fact true. Now, the Washington Post says that they did not find evidence tying Joe Biden to any of this directly, or something like that was how they phrased it. But I mean, the whole 10% of the big guy, and then you got a guy who was involved in those email chains coming out and saying that was Joe Biden. I mean, I would call that some kind of evidence. Is it proof? No, but you can't say it's not evidence. And there's other emails to back it up. And then not to mention this kind of lends more credence to, which it's we all saw. If you were on the internet sleuthing around on anything, you saw a lot of these pictures getting posted onto different social media sites and message boards from Hunter Biden's laptop, and this was definitely him. He was definitely doing drugs, and they were people who did not post the images, but claimed that there were images of him with in explicit photos with his niece, his 14-year-old niece, and other underage people. So, if the financial stuff is true, then it looks like there's probably that other stuff is true too. And you're starting to hear rumors in the press. You're starting to see reports coming down from the Justice Department, or from people with sources inside the Justice Department, that there is possibly a Hunter Biden indictment coming up. So it's yet another one of these stories where, we conspiracy theorists, quote unquote, as we talked about on the show, that was a term created to discredit people asking questions about the Kennedy assassination, but that was created by the CIA to discredit them. So we conspiracy theorists, as we're called, we're right yet again on this one. And it's not even that we're right. It's just that we didn't refuse to look at information that made somebody look bad and talk about it. And we repeatedly have called a lot of these things right. And then the New York Times or the Washington Post 6 months later will come out and say, oh yeah, well, it turns out we were actually overcounting the amount of, children with COVID. That was actually the hospitalization. That was actually supposed to be a number per 100,000, not a percentage, but we reported it as a percentage. Oh yeah, that's right. The conspiracy theorists called them out on stuff like this about 2 years ago on a lot of this. So over and over again, this happens, and then 6 months, a year, 2 years later, the Washington Post and New York Times come out, and they know it's true now. Like, it wasn't true then because we weren't saying it was true. But now that we say it's true, well, it's true now. Well, it's yet another one of those things, man. I'm getting sick of those things. But what do we do about it? Well, we can take control of what we can take control, and that's what's nearby us. That's our family. That's our neighborhood. That's our local elections. Like, dude, who do you pay attention to who your county commissioner is, or your constable, or your sheriff, or your county mayor, whatever? I mean, your school board members, that stuff's important. That's who, if it's not Joe Biden and it's not Vladimir Putin who has the most direct effect on you, although they certainly do. I mean, we all see the gas prices going up like they have. And I see people saying that, oh, that's not to blame Joe Biden. Look how high they are up all over the world. Well, no, it's not completely Joe Biden's fault, but Joe Biden did damn sure everything he could to make sure that oil energy was higher cost, and he said he was going to. That's one of the things he and Obama both talked about, is that they wanted to make it expensive to produce energy with fossil fuels so that people be further incentivized to go on to electric. And that's what he did. And with the cutting the Keystone pipeline out, a lot of people said, oh, well, that just carries oil from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico anyway. That wouldn't lower the cost. Yeah, it carries it to the refineries down there in the Gulf of Mexico, where they refine it and turn it into gasoline. So yeah, that would have lowered the cost, and it would have also allowed a lot of that new production oil that was made in the United States, instead of having to be shipped from the West Coast via tanker ship over to China, or in some cases up until the sanctions, even to Russia. It just makes more sense to have that Canadian and that domestic oil to go to us in the middle of the country and get refined there and be used here. But instead, today, Biden, he did these sanctions supposedly to hurt Russia. They're hurting us, and so now our gas prices are going up, and he's trying to do what he can to mitigate the cost of that by getting into the strategic oil reserves again. He's talking about dumping another $1 million a day into the domestic market. I think we have 500 and some million barrels, so we could do that for a little over a year and then run it all out. And what do? You keep the gas, you keep the price of gas at $4 or $5 a gallon, whatever. I think it's like $7 out in California. So I don't know how much that really helps anything. And it's kind of like, here in Carter County, they're talking about this this pandemic funds that they're getting. I forget how many millions of dollars that they're getting. And they're at this candidates forum that they did a couple weeks ago here in Carter County. They're all talking about how they're going to spend all this money, and it's like, dude, you guys spent 40-some million dollars last year. I mean, 50,000 people live in this county. It's not that big of a place. I mean, if you ask me, it took me all of 30 seconds to come up with this answer. I would say, all right, we put this money aside and we pause every bit of tax collection in the county and to let the citizens get back on their damn feet after we shut everything down for 2 years. Let's stop collecting taxes at least before we start talking about how to spend more money. That anyway, I think that's about all we want to do tonight. In short, a lot of these people, they don't necessarily look at things the way that I do. So I try to put my idea out there, and if you like it, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. You can tell me about it either way. Like and subscribe. Join the channel. Give us jump in the chat. Comment after the fact. Hey, we'll be back on Sunday for one of our actual episodes. I'm not sure which one we're going to do just yet. I've got a few, in the pipe, so to speak. So we'll see which one of these episodes makes a good one for this week, based on what comes up in the news. That kind of depends on that as to which way we'll go. So I appreciate you joining us tonight. Hopefully my daughter's back soon. If not, she'll be back any minute now. So I'm going to hop off here. And next time we do this, I'll make sure that we got the Skype running properly. Just couldn't get it up and going on time. But thank you for joining us, and we will see you on Sunday live at 10 p.m.